Welcome to a unorganized edition of In the Chute. He's Kaylin. I'm Brandon. She's mom. She's the boss. Kaylin, tread lightly. What have you got?
How much activity on the ranch has changed with the use of smartphones compared to back in the day with a small book? I know you still have your book in your pocket most of the time, but using memory, the small book, talking to people, etc. How much has it changed since you have started using smartphones on a regular basis?
Well, memory is something that's some days I could
Slipping.
hide my own
A diminishing,
Easter eggs. Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, good God. Yeah, I don't carry that little book in my pocket anymore,
The
Oh,
believe it or
smartphone's
not.
got
The
the
oh,
calendar
smartphone
and
has
everything.
replaced that.
oh my goodness.
I know.
It is a new age.
Well,
Never
that
thought
Well,
that
and my
little
memory.
book would go
now
away.
think about what that book would look like. He would get
Oh, it's
electric tape
thick.
or duct tape out
Yeah.
and redo the outside to make sure it stayed together. And I mean, it was high
Mhm.
tech, high quality,
You had to,
uh,
otherwise it would fall apart.
high fashion, all in
High
one.
fashion.
High fashion.
Um, the activity hasn't changed it. I mean, it's just that I'm
Tracking is different.
tracking. I'll put stuff in some notes on my phone. Always getting texts. Seems like calls. Depends on which you're standing
Which
on.
hill you're on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you're at, maybe or maybe not, and whether you got
Cloud cover, sunshine.
antennas sticking out of your helmet. Yeah, whatever. I mean, that's tough, but the activities are the same. The work is the same. Nothing's changed. And of course, there's a lot of times where I'm pulling that thing out and I'm filming for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That
now
has,
it's dual use as a camera too.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, it's a good camera.
And oh yeah, I mean, better than you ever hoped you could get with like a 35 millimeter because it didn't do video.
Right.
But sometimes the work slows down a little bit because of that. I mean, it's kind of a work interrupter in a way where you're like, oh, this would be something that he wants to do. So I'll start taking some pictures and video
Filming.
and just filming it. And that'll slow things up a little bit, but it doesn't change the work.
Just so you know, I'm usually the one's like, Kaylin would like video of this.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah,
I'm just all
you're
about
right.
getting the work done. So
I'm all about, hey, let's slow down.
yeah, but
Coffee break.
these smartphones are,
Well,
yeah,
there are computers in your pocket. I mean,
exactly. And it's
geez.
like sometimes it's unbelievable, where I can be in the shop doing something and I'm like, okay, can I get this? What do I need? And I can grab that phone. I can do a little bit of research real quick. You get on what you call Uncle Google
Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Google.
Uncle
and
Google.
yeah,
Uncle
and
Google's
Google something.
amazing.
Or um, actually, I've used YouTube a good number of times
Yeah.
to research how to do something that you haven't done before. Or it's like, well, let me look at this,
I
see how
use
somebody
YouTube a
else has
lot
done
for
it.
editing when I don't know how to do something.
Do you?
Oh,
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Oh, so yeah, and I mean, yeah, a lot of informational stuff like that can be good. Um, so it just is one of those, in the moment you don't realize you need it until you're needing it, and
Hmm.
that happens quite often.
What about for a lot of times we try and look up stuff as well for in terms of, costs and everything. What
Yeah, a little
maybe
shopping.
a
Yeah.
better idea of going about doing something is, how much has that changed compared to before the smartphone?
That has reduced the amount of time you spend researching what something's going to cost or what the
Yeah.
application you might need. I mean, it's very
well,
handy for that.
and I think about availability. I mean, you can get on Google and you can find, Google whatever part you need at different stores so that you can find out whether or not you got to go 30
Yeah.
miles or 60 miles,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just picking that phone up and calling. You used to have to go to a phone book. I rarely use a phone book now, except for local calls where somebody within the community that you don't necessarily have their phone number, but you got a phone book. I don't even look at yellow pages anymore. I just go right to,
Well,
I just,
because if you Google it, it'll have the call button and
right,
you can just
right.
click
Right.
it.
Or you can go to their website and take a look and then give
Yeah.
them a call. Yeah, it has changed things significantly that way. I mean, it's
More efficient time
way
use.
more efficient. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember, when I was a kid, you break down, for instance, during haying, say you need a part for a swather or a baler, and guess who gets to go to town? The parts runner, right? And you would give them the part, or you knew what it was, send them to town, and then they would go from place to place to see if you had the part.
All right.
and then hopefully it was the right one and bring it home and you put it on, reinstall, get going again. That's completely changed how that's done. Now you can take a picture of the dang part.
Mhm.
You can send it to a parts
Right.
guy. Do you have this? Or get online and look on maybe a search catalog and see what they've got on some common parts and if it's available, what the cost is. I mean, it's really changed that a lot. So it take a little bit of time to do that up front. Hey, I need this part. Looks like, do you have it? And then, yep, reconfirm that they've got it. Hold on to it, or you can go ahead and purchase it over the phone, which never was a possibility before because we didn't even have a phone,
Yeah.
not even a landline. So, you can make sure that part's there. You just drive down to it.
I lived in civilization, so I had a phone, but
Yeah, of course you did. And a bicycle.
I
You had
did.
electricity. You even had water that ran inside the house.
I did. It was great.
So anyway,
Two different
a time
worlds.
saver that way, and money saver for, not running around, and it's a really good thing.
That was going to be my next question is, do you think because of that, you've, as a ranching and agricultural business, do you think a lot of savings has occurred, or is it just kind of changed now to it's a different way of going about doing things? Because I'm thinking savings
Yeah.
in terms of, like you were saying, you're not driving around town all over the place. You're not trying to, constantly go from one place to another. You can just pick up the phone, call, look it up on the information website
Right.
and all that.
I'd say the biggest savings is time.
Time savings is exactly
Time,
what
yeah.
I would say too. That's what I was thinking. Money wise, no, it's the same. I mean, because you may be able to save a little bit of money on a part, but you may not, and you're still got to buy the part. You're saving a little bit on that particular piece, maybe, but certainly the time is a big deal, and you know how it is that
Especially when you're haying.
especially when you're doing things like haying. Yeah, I mean it's a significant deal. That's time is everything when you're doing that.
Yeah. How about one last question for smartphones? How much do you think it's changed with regard to clients? Because a lot of times we'll have clients contact us for horses, not necessarily for the beef. Maybe, as we continue with the direct consumer in the upcoming years, that'll change a little bit more, but it's mostly been toward horse sales. How much has that changed before the smartphone and now after?
Oh, that's big.
That is enormous. It used to be somebody would call based on word of mouth
Yeah.
because you didn't even have computers or websites or anything like that. You just had word of mouth, and you'd get a call on the phone once we got one, and people would say, "Hey, what have you got?" And you tell them, you describe to them what you've got, and they had nothing to look at, so everything was painting a picture for them and letting them know, what you have, what you see, what you think it is. So then we got a website, and even got a website before I think we got cell phones.
Yeah. We had a website before cell phones.
Yeah, so that kind of changed that as well, where they could see see what you had.
Static pictures, and
Yeah.
then came video.
Yeah,
and they'd say, well, how do they walk? So I'd take a video that with a video camera,
Right.
and then we'd have to download it and could we attach it to I think we could attach
or send it
to
as an email or something
like that. Maybe
Yeah,
it was an email. That's what it was. And now you think about it, I could take a smartphone out, videotape a little clip, send it on Google, and they could have it within minutes of us finishing.
and honestly, you
The
wouldn't even
video.
have to do that. You could zoom it
You
on
could.
with a cell
Yeah.
phone now,
That's true. Live
and
stream,
they can do it
essentially.
and they live stream it. Yeah. So it is an enormous change. I can remember
More
a guy
immediate.
called me one time. We had the website and didn't have a horse on it. He called and asked if we had anything that wasn't on the site, and I said, actually, I do. And so I said, I don't have any pictures on it yet, but I'm just training this horse. Went out, took it was a floppy, with
Yeah.
a floppy type camera. Took it out, took some pictures of this horse. And as I'm taking pictures and walking back to the house, I thought, my grandpas would never believe the technology and what you could do now. And went in, put it in the computer, loaded
Attached it to an
attached
email?
it to an email, and sent it to him. And all within the 15 minutes of total time, and saved him a trip several hundred miles. I didn't have to describe it. He could see in real time what he was getting. It was, yeah, that was a game changer.
Yeah. Well, that is the difference in ranch activity on the Hashknife Ranch before and after smartphones and, like you're saying, the websites and the floppy disks.